Hi, welcome. If this is your first time here, my name is Cassie and I teach tutorials for how to make fake food. And today we're going to make some realistic looking fake brownies. Today I'm going to use Crayola Air Dry Clay, and the reason I'm choosing that clay is because you can get the really defined and crumbly texture that a brownie has. I tried using some air dry foam clay for this and it just didn't hold the detail as well as I would like, and it really didn't look very realistic. And you know, I'm all about making it look realistic, so I decided to go with this clay, and I think you'll be happy with the results. So just condition your clay, and then I'm going to roll this clay into a ball, and then I'm going to kind of smush it out to the thickness that I want my brownie to be. And then I'm just going to cut this in a square. So I'm using a clay cutting blade, which I love this thing. If you don't have one, you should definitely get one. I'll put a link to the set that I got in the description if you want to check it out. The next thing we'll want to do is texture the sides. So I'm going to use a toothpick, and I'm just going to start like poking in and like pulling out, and make sure you go onto the bottom edge and to the top edge, because that's going to make it look more realistic. So you don't want to just do this and make like a bunch of holes. You want to kind of pull the clay out a little bit, and that's going to give you some texture. And see how, I don't know if you can see, but it starts to look like crumbly there. And it probably won't look exactly how you want it to look right at this point, but we're gonna fix it up a little bit more, and it'll totally change the look of it once we get the paint on it. So just hang in there. Okay, so now I have all my sides textured, and so I have kind of some areas where it's really sticking out. So I'm just gonna lightly press with my finger, and that's gonna kind of press in some of those parts that are like spiky. But don't press too much or you'll get rid of all of your detail that you just added. We just want to get rid of those little spiky things. Okay, so now for the top, I have a piece of paper that I just crumpled up. This is just printer paper. And I am just going to start pressing in, and I'm going to use different areas of the paper so that I get different textures. Okay, so this is going to be a brownie without any frosting on it. This is going to be like that crackly coat that you just get on a brownie when you bake it. So I want to go in around the edges especially, but you can do it anywhere. And I'm just going to take my toothpick and just make some lines that'll look like crackly spots once I paint this. Okay, so once you have that all done, you're going to need to let this dry. I let mine dry overnight, and I mean, you can paint this while it's wet. I'm not saying you can't, but you will probably have a big mess if you do that. So I just let mine dry so that it would be easier to paint. So this is the one that I already made, and I let it dry. So I'm going to show you the colors and stuff to use. So for the brownie part, the sides of the brownie, I'm going to use burnt umber and chocolate bar. So it's going to be mostly burnt umber with a little bit of chocolate bar. So that little drop was the chocolate bar, and then the first one I put in was the burnt umber. And then we want it to be a little bit glossy, so I'm going to add some gloss Mod Podge to it. Now, we don't want it super glossy or it's not going to look realistic. So I would say for this part, like 1/3 Mod Podge and 2/3 paint. This is going to give it that, you know, how brownies have like it's a little bit shiny because it's because of the oil in there. So this is going to give that kind of oily look. So just paint all the sides, and you're probably going to have to do 2 coats of this because what I noticed is as the paint starts drying down in those little crevices, it'll kind of like disappear and then you'll have white spots. So just keep that in mind. You'll probably have to do 2 coats. And I'm going basically all the way up to the top because, like I said, we're not putting frosting on this. This is just going to be like the top of the brownie, so it's not really any thickness to it. And I'm kind of patting my brush in there so that it can get into those little holes that I made. If you want to learn how to make fake Rice Krispie treats using 100% fake materials, then be sure to check out my fake Rice Krispie treats tutorial in my Etsy shop. I'll have a link to that in the description for you. It does not use resin and it does not use real Rice Krispies. 100% fake. Okay, so now for the top, I'm going to use melted chocolate. And then I'm going to add a little drip of pumpkin orange. And then this part I want to be glossier, so I'm actually going to add more Mod Podge to this one. So probably half and half, half paint and half Mod Podge. So I'm going to go ahead and paint across the top of this, and then we'll go back in and get some of those details. And you don't have to worry about getting down. I mean, if you do, it's okay, but you don't have to get down in those crevices that we made with the toothpick because we're going to put the dark color in there anyway, so you don't have to make a special effort to get into those. Okay, so now I'm taking a little detailing brush and I'm going to go back with my darker color and I'm just going to get in those lines that we made with the toothpick. These are supposed to look like cracks in that top surface, and so then the dark part of the brownie shows through. And I think this is one of the things that helps it look the most realistic, so don't skip this part. And you probably will have to second coat the top part as well. This is one that I already had made up that I painted. So you can see this is glossy-ish, but not too glossy. And then the top is more glossy. Thanks so much for crafting with me today.